It's nice and shiny there.
Yeah.
Hence the hat and the scarf. It's absolutely freezing here at the moment. So inside a 16th century converted farm building. That's where my studio and workshop is. So it's fine in the summer, but very cold in the winter.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, far away.
All right. So what inspired you to start making the armatures?
Oh gosh. Well, I just love creating things ever since I was a boy. So what got me into armatures was a bit of a chance happening. Actually, I've been a sculptor by trade since I can remember. So I was sculpting the little sort of characters, the models that the animators would work from, basically. So I got into the armatures because I was always engineering kind of minded, and I was in a job where I was building and designing camera systems that go into planes, like Google Maps and Google Earth. I designed a lot of the camera systems that hang out the bottom of planes. Basically, it was all engineering, but in big scale. It then just kind of got me into doing what I loved with the animation and using that experience to create little tiny metal parts and working things. So yeah, but it's just I just love creating things.
How did you get involved in film and television?
Well, again, that's a bit of a lucky chance. Well, yeah, it came part and parcel. So for many years, I've worked for companies that produced animations for obviously film and television. So I unfortunately the work that I do doesn't actually get seen. It's all hidden inside the puppets, So it's quite strange being at the cinema and seeing something that you've worked on, but no one can see what's going on. But yeah, I've worked for a lot of local sort of animation companies. I run animation workshops with children and adults, and that kind of just went part and parcel. You kind of get into that word of mouth kind of thing, It's a very niche industry, but once you get in there, it's a lot of fun.
All right. Did they use armatures in Wallace and Gromit?
Yes, they did. Yeah. The very first one, which the chap called Nick Park. Have you heard of Nick Park? Yeah. He kind of done that pretty much on his own on a very, very small student budget, but he still managed to use armatures, very, very basic and rudimentary. But of course, as those films progressed and he done a lot of TV specials, the armatures started to get more and more sophisticated. And again, it's all about trying to get a lot of work done in as little time as possible, and armatures help with that with the animators. So yeah.
How else are armatures used outside of film?
How else?
Yeah, outside of film.
Not really a lot, to be honest. I mean, I have had customers that use them in a animatronic industry, where it's kind of like, it's not animation, but they do shop displays. So they want moving characters, moving about. For artistry, making posable characters for life drawing, things like that. But it's mainly the whole concept behind it is that you can move the armatures a little bit, take a picture, and so on. So that's pretty much it, I'd say.
All right. So what is your favorite film and why?
Oh wow! There's hundreds. I still love Paranorman, simply because it's not only visually beautiful, but they've managed to bring something that is quite an old industry, and they brought it up to date using technology, but still paying homage to the whole handmade, ultra sort of realistic sort of building, but with 3D printing and that digital age. But they still managed to keep that magic about it, So that's my favourite at the moment. But
What's
Still
the
get to see box trolls, actually.
Yeah.
See it. So that's probably even better. But yeah. And obviously Shaun the Sheep, yes, but I haven't seen it yet.
What's the process for turning the metal skeleton into a sheep?
Oh gosh, okay. Well, to say for example, Shaun the Sheep, the process it is kind of long-winded. It takes quite a long time. With the main characters, they've kind of got to look at what parts of the body are going to be used a lot, and what they need to do in certain shots. So you'll end up with Shaun the Sheep, for example. It's not just one of them. There's a lot of them. I think on the film they had about 16 or 17, but some are designed to do different things. A sheep's a sheep, I suppose. I mean, it's four legs and a fluffy body, but yeah. So, I mean, with the sheeps, they're quite easy. The legs are actually wire armatures because they're very flexible and bending all over the place. But they do have a ball and socket core, so for the stomach for moving. But the actual fleece itself is a fleecy material, which actually makes it difficult to animate because it moves, and it's very difficult for the animators to create a smooth animation with it. But that's a sheep for you, I suppose, isn't it?
So why are the skeletons called armatures?
Okay, well, the word armature is something mechanical that moves. It really is as simple as that. And it's something that's mechanical that's moved through. How can I put it? By either hand or a machine, if that makes sense. But it just comes from that point. So an armature would be something as simple as a part of a clock. It includes an armature. It's just a moving mechanical item.
Okay.
What advice do you have for students wanting to get involved in stop motion and animation?
Advice: lots and lots of patience. Don't be afraid of being creative. You don't need to be a brilliant artist. You don't have to be brilliant at sculpting. You don't have to be, top in the class for understanding anatomy, for example. It's how you can portray emotions in characters, and that's what it boils down to. It's a lot of practice, and it's just letting your creative side just let it loose, but don't let I've seen great animations done by people that can only really draw stickmen or sculpt little plasticine lumps, but the way they animate, it's incredible. So, but yeah, it's a lot of patience and a lot of practice.
All right. So how long does it take to make the creatures for Shaun the Sheep?
Okay. Well, say for example, let's say for example a character in the Shaun the Sheep movie, say a human character, for example. I've got something here that I don't know if you'll be able to see it on screen.
Yeah.
That's something similar to what was used for some human characters on Shaun the Sheep movie. The whole process can take months per character, but that's taking it from the design stage right to the point where it's ready to animate. But once you've got a physical armature, it normally takes about 10 days to get that complete with a foam latex skin, which is incredibly difficult. They basically bake it in an oven to create a skin, and then they put clothing on it, and the clothing is properly made clothing, fully stitched, knitted. I know people that actually do miniature knitting, so they actually knit in miniature with little tiny needles. It's phenomenal. But yeah, on average about 10 days. But then I've turned puppets round in a couple of days. It just really depends on what they're doing in the film. If they're only sitting down in a restaurant, you only really need to see the top part of the body. So as long as it needs to be.
Yeah.
Do you create individual armatures for each character?
Yes, yeah. There's in the animation industry, you've got scales that a lot of studios stick to, like a 9-inch scale or a 12-inch scale puppet, which can cover a lot of characters. But when you've got a film that has a certain theme going, like Aardman, for example, they do love their short and chubby, squat characters, which don't follow normal anatomy. Yeah, everyone sort of has to be different. You know, you can have big shoulders, little skinny people. It's yeah. So the fun bit is trying to get every armature to match every character. It's a lot of fun. So a lot of late nights as well on my behalf. But
So, what are the armatures made from?
they're made from mainly they're made from steel, mild steel, and a combination of brass and stainless steel. You can use lots of different types of metals, but when it comes to engineering, it's all about creating a smooth movement. You know, when you're moving a character, you know, you want to be able to just move it. You can't really see it on the screen there, but
No,
teeny tiny amounts, you know. And it's, but what you have is, this one's powder coated. Oh, this one, what's this one? This is a little tiny, skinny little thing, similar to what they used on Paranorman, actually. Very, very tiny designs of puppets. So you can see it's just virtually metal throughout.
Okay.
Aluminium for fingers, aluminium wire, but that's predominantly what it's used. But I actually powder coat. Have you heard of powder coating?
No.
It's kind of like you spray like a dust on or powder rather onto the metal, and you bake it in an oven, and it sets and it creates a durable finish to the metal and makes it smoother, etc. And it looks good as well. But yeah, that's predominantly what it is. But the idea is you've got to be as accurate as possible. You know, if you're a millimeter out, or sorry, I don't really work in imperial inches and that, but the slightest difference, for example, in the difference between the ankle and the knee, that can actually cause problems in animating when they're walking. They just won't sort of walk right. So you've got to be just so accurate, otherwise they get thrown back at you.
Do you have a favorite character?
A favourite character? Well, again, I seem to be a bit, but I should be more Aardman, shouldn't I? But it's got to be Norman from Paranorman. I just love the design. It's kind of like defies, again, normal logical anatomy. You know, big head, skinny little body. I just think, yeah, I just think they're brilliant. But there's a host of them. But every few months, yeah, you just get different favourites, I suppose. Depends what I'm working on at the time.
Yeah. So, how did they do all this before the armatures were invented?
Well, armatures have been around since day one. The late Ray Harryhausen, he kind of pioneered armatures, but they were very, very basic, rudimentary armatures for the dinosaur movies that he worked on, King Kong, etc. Very, very bulky, but they pretty much started like that. So from day one, it has been like that, but of course, been very expensive and very, very difficult to produce. So for small studios to get by using armatures, ball and socket armatures, it was quite difficult, and that was like that up until 15 years ago. It was quite expensive, and really only in the past 5 years has it been amateurs have been able to sort of spend £100 or a couple $100 and get themselves a ball and socket armature.
All right.
And that's because of me and a couple of other companies around the world. They do armature kits and things like that. So it lets people start producing good quality animation without spending thousands and thousands of dollars. So that's the idea.
So how long have you been in the industry?
In the animation industry, about 6 or 7 years now. But from a sculpting and engineering and model making point of view, oh my gosh, 18 or 19 years. Yeah, on or off. But I've kind of been freelance all my life, so I spent a few years, flying in planes all over the country, mapping and filming seals, counting seals and whales. So I've been around, but yeah, I'm back to the stuff that I love doing now.
All right. Thank you very much for doing this.
No problem. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you.
Enjoy your day. See you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Cheers.